right. Hello, everyone. So good to be here. Sandy mentioned the Dominican energy, and I would have to say the native New Yorker energy as well. So that combination means that I tend to talk really quickly. So I'm going to try to slow down just to make sure that we're all having a good conversation. As Sandy mentioned, I'm Dr. Sugeni Pérez-Sadler. I am with the Office of Student Pathways in New York City Public Schools. I focus on policy and evaluation for the Office of Student Pathways, and with policy, academic policy, local, so the academic policy guides, accountability metrics in terms of being a liaison with the Office of Policy and Evaluation, and then with all things that are happening at the state level around the graduation changes, most of which are proposed still. As you know, the New York Board of Regents has not passed most of the transformations, so we'll go through the one that they did pass and enacted into law back in the summer, in July, which is the Portrait of a Graduate. So we're going to really center that conversation on the Portrait of a Graduate because everything else is a proposal. Timelines are a proposal, so I cannot emphasize that enough. I know that some of us are really excited, and with excitement and change comes also a little bit of nervousness. How are we going to do this? What resources will it take? And I think these are all great questions to bring into this space, but know that everything is still a proposal. And so keep that in mind. The last thing I'll mention is that I'm also part of the state graduation measures communication network. And that's something that the state ed department brings together school districts from across the state once a month to provide us with whatever additional information, flyers, any way of communicating to you all what they're thinking about at the state. Okay, let me make sure that I get this right. I may need a little bit of tech support because I'm not sure what all these pop-ups are. Yeah, simple enough, but somehow I couldn't do it.
The thing to remember is that that's your screen. The one on the laptop is not your screen.
Okay. You would think with all these hybrid situations we've been going through for 5 years, right? I would be a pro. Okay, so where do I need to click?
There you go.
Perfecto. Gracias.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, the hang of it. Yay! The first accomplishment of the day. So, want to make sure that we get grounded on our objectives and our conversation for the hour I think we have together. And that is to really create a space where we can reflect and discuss and gain a better understanding of the adopted portrait of a graduate. And you'll see POG, and some other folks call it POG. I'm not really too keen on that acronym, but you'll see POG. And the proposed changes reflect how your current school practices might need to change to support these updates. And hopefully we'll get around to identifying some steps, some actionable steps that we can begin taking this year. All right, so turn and talk. And for those of you who are in the online space, you could put it in the chat. What was your high school anthem? Turn to a neighbor and let them know. What was your high school anthem?
School song. I'm very anti-school. Blocked all of that. I probably still school sing.
Your high school song. Sometimes there's like a song that they sing in sporting events or the chorus, or some of us may not remember. I know I don't. All right, now that we're warmed up, some of us didn't remember me. I didn't remember what my high school anthem was. Did anyone remember their anthem? Oh, okay. Do you want to share? Oh no, absolutely not. You sang it and we missed out. All right, that looks like an offline conversation that I may have to follow up with. All right, so let's get grounded as to where we were in high school, right? And some of us are working day to day with high school students, and so it's really at the forefront of our mind, but I want us to think about our experiences, right? And what these changes may or may have not done for us and for our students. So, okay, no, not yet.
Girl, just sit up there.
¿Verdad? He's going to have to be my Vanna White. So we know that there's an urgent need for change. We know that our students are going out there into the world unprepared for their next step. They're not prepared for college many times, if that's their immediate step after high school, not prepared to go into the workforce. And so how do we ensure that we give them the experiences, that we give them the skills that they really need to thrive? Our graduation requirements have not changed in 30 plus years. Let that sink in. The world has changed drastically in 3 decades. And so it's about time that we think about how to change instruction, how to change programming, how to change the experiences that we provide our students outside of the classroom to ensure that they're ready for the world of today and not the world of 30 years ago.
Johanna, you can.
Yes.
Click for you. Okay.
All right, so back in 2019, are you saying that I don't need this anymore? Oh, that is amazing, thank you. So back in 2019, this conversation started at the state level. Some of us have been following it since then. This is right before COVID. And we saw op-ed pieces and other press releases from the chancellor and the Board of Regents, our commissioner, saying it's time we rethink the high school diploma. At that point, they started a Blue Ribbon Commission. Some people in New York City, superintendents, principals, counselors, teachers, and others were part of that. The state had a series of forums where they talk to teachers and students and parents, other educators around what are your hopes and dreams and how can we make sure to meet them. And so this process started over 5 years ago, and it resulted in a Blue Ribbon Commission report. And in that report, there were 12 different recommendations that were made. And out of those 12, the state ed department narrowed it down to the 4 transformations we're going to talk about. All right, next one. So this is their theory of action. If we take a more holistic approach, and this is what the state is proposing, and do these 4 transformations, adopting a portrait of a graduate, redefining credits, separating diploma, high-stakes diploma assessments, and the last one is moving to one high school diploma, no longer the 3 different local regions or advanced regions. So if we do these 4 transformations, then our students will be equipped, and then we'll be able to measure whether they're ready for life after high school by doing the following things. And I'm not able to see here. I'm so sorry. Next, can you go one more? Because I think it's important for us to be grounded on the different ways that the state says that we're still measuring whether our students have the skills to navigate the world after high school. One of which is the learning standards. The learning standards are going to be updated, and so we'll still have a lot of the different tools that we currently have now. What's important to know is that they're adding flexibility. They're adding to the menu of ways and assessments that our students can really demonstrate that they're proficient in these set of skills. And the next one, I think, it's probably the portrait of a graduate and the competencies. So this is our North Star. Many states across the country have a portrait of a graduate. Some call it the profile of a learner. This is really the foundation as to what it means to be ready. What should our students be able to do? What should our students be able to think in terms of their mindsets? And these are the 6 that the state landed on after many, many, many conversations, as we mentioned, through the Blue Ribbon Commission ambassador forums. And so that is to be academically prepared, to be an effective communicator, future-focused, a critical thinker. This is state law. This was passed in July. And so now the North Star, right, what it means to graduate and what our students should be able to do, it's the law. And in November, and we'll go through the timeline, November 3rd or 4th, so it's coming up soon, the state will be presenting regulations for the Board of Regents to then execute on this vision, right? The regulations kind of tell us the how. And so we're not sure what will be in the regulations yet, but that is coming soon. And so this is what will be focused, as I mentioned, in terms of our conversation, because we know that this is happening. This is no longer proposed. Next slide. So the other one is transforming the credits and redefining what it means. We know that currently it is based on the Carnegie unit, 180 minutes of instruction and seat time, as we call it. And so the thing that a lot of our students said when they were participating in these forums is, sometimes I come in and I know what there is to learn in English 5, but yet I have to sit the entire semester because there's no other way to evaluate whether I've learned and mastered everything on the learning standards, the state learning standards. So this now provides flexibility where different experiences outside of the classroom, like an internship, or inside of the classroom, but a capstone project, project-based learning, work-based learning, all of these things would be an option for students to be able to demonstrate that they have, they're proficient on the portrait of a graduate competencies. Okay, next transformation. This one is around the regents and the +1 option. Students will still need to take the regents exam, particularly for English, math, and science. We know that that's a federal ESSA requirement. But it will no longer hold them back. If they are not able to pass the regents, it's just one more formative assessment, right? And so this is the equivalent of when a 3rd grader takes a state exam and they don't pass the exam, we still promote them, right? And so this is saying, this is one piece of evidence, right? But our students are more than just one test score. So what are the other different ways? And this is a slide from the state ed department, how they showed that we could supplement, right, and show if the student wants the advanced regents diploma and they get a 95, that's great. That's great for them. This is saying for a student, let's say an English language learner, they're taking the English regents, they're not able to pass it, that will no longer be the reason why they can't graduate. All right, next one. So this one's around moving into one diploma, so no more hierarchy of diplomas. And so the state will provide one diploma, and us as a school district cannot emphasize that enough, us as a school district can then add on different seals or different endorsements. So this is where you would see an advanced regents endorsement or a seal. Not sure what we're going to call it yet. Again, this is a proposal, right? So we're going in phases. This is a 5-year rollout. And so we'll see whether we call them seals, endorsements. That obviously has really deep implications for the work with higher education, because these seals and endorsements need to signal something in terms of readiness for them. CTE endorsement will still be there, but if there's other types of endorsements, industry recognized credentials, that's also a conversation with our industry partners, because we don't want just a sticker for a sticker, right? We want it to mean something and to signal readiness. All right, so I think this is where we have like a pop quiz moment. Oh, see, I got too excited. No quiz yet, but that's coming. So I'm not sure if it's a pop anymore, right? It's just going to be a quiz. This is the proposed. Proposed, cannot emphasize that enough. Proposed implementation timeline. 2024 and 25, last school year. This is where they finalized the portrait of a graduate, they meaning the state. They also had, and the Board of Regents passed this around exemptions to the diploma assessments for major life events. So if a student had a death in their family, or if they themselves are in the hospital, they're able to get an exemption for the regents. This is the way of the Board of Regents and the state signaling that decoupling of the assessment with the diploma. This year, as we know, the portrait of a graduate became law in July, and the state is going to be releasing some more details around the credit requirements, which will not be phased in until 2027. When the state says 2027 cohort, they mean 9th graders who start in 2027. So that's our current 7th graders. Okay. And then you see some other, as we see across the 5-year span, rollout, some other proposals that, in terms of timeline, when the learning standards will be released, the reformatted learning standards, reformatted to align to the portrait of a graduate student competencies, rubrics for portrait of a graduate, and then so on, until the full implementation, which is fall of 2029. That's 9th graders starting in 2029, and they will then inherit this whole new system if the Board of Regents is able to approve all of these different phases. Okay, next one. I think there was, we may have to refresh it because there was another slide here.
This one?
No, before. It might just be like a older draft, but we can keep going.
We could refresh it.
The next slide just showed it by cohort, which cohort, no, it's still, okay, we'll roll with it. Okay. So this is, again, the big news. See, now you guys don't have a pop quiz anymore. You must be excited. This is just to really highlight the immediate next step, which is the Board of Regents, the State Department presenting the regulations on portrait of a graduate. This is a critical window. There is always a 60-day, sometimes 40, but this time it's going to be 60-day comment period. So anyone, parents, teachers, superintendents, anyone can comment and submit that to the state. and see if there, especially if you have ideas around how to further define it, or if you need some clarity around what they mean by portrait of a graduate, and you want some updates to the regulation. They usually then come back, the state comes back with an updated regulation draft, and the Board of Regents will decide in early January. Okay. This is what we're going to skip. I had some slides asking you all a question, but maybe I can ask you all a question to check for understanding. Okay, out of the 4 transformations, which one's law? Raise your hand if you know. There was portrait of a graduate, moving to 1 diploma, redefining credits, and sunsetting assessments.
Portrait of a graduate.
Portrait of a graduate. Awesome. Okay. For moving into 1 diploma, if a student wants to get an advanced Regents diploma, this one's tricky. Will they be able to get an advanced Regents diploma? True or false? False. What could they get, the student? A seal or an endorsement. All right, you guys are on it. Awesome. The state has a 5-year implementation plan. Which one? Let me see. How was it that I asked the question?
If you refresh the slides, they're there.
When does it become when does full implementation start? Fall of 2027, fall of 2029?
2029.
Fall of 2029. And what does that mean? What grade is starting in 2029?
Graders.
All right, there's some math people up in here, and I know it. I know it. What grade is that student currently in? If they're starting the 9th grade in 2029.
Great.
Who said that?
Fifth grade.
5th grade. That's our current 5th grader. All right, I think this is the only one.
Say they had it right
Oh,
in the chat. They said 5th.
oh, my chat people, yes. Okay, under the new proposed timeline, and this one's a little tricky, so I'll give you the answer if you don't know it. Under the proposed timeline, students entering 9th grade in the fall of 2027, so our current 7th graders, will need to earn 1 credit in global history, CTE, AP, or computer science. This one's like a bonus round. Like if I was giving something away, you would get like a bonus.
The chat says D.
CTE.
Computer science.
Who says CTE? Yay! Yes, CTE, Career and Technical Education. The state is saying there are many different. Who gasped? Because I did that too the first time I saw it. Okay. The state is saying that there are several different ways of students earning this CTE credit. Could be through financial literacy, could be through work-based learning. More to come, since they have not rolled out their definitions around credit requirements and the new credit requirements. Yes.
So in the earlier slide, it talked about financial literacy and climate science.
Yes.
Does that satisfy the CET?
The CTE.
Is that the same thing?
So financial literacy, one of the proposals, if we can go back to that slide, and your name is?
John.
Hi, John. And somebody keep me honest with time, because, you know, I'm not looking. So one more. Yes. Okay. So that last bullet point, financial literacy and climate education requirement, that's next year, right? That's next school year. And so they're not saying, the state is not saying a credit for financial literacy. If you are providing, if you're a school that's providing a full semester of financial literacy, you could do it that way. If you want to infuse some financial literacy and embed it into another subject, you can do it that way as well. what they're saying is they're going to be coming out with some rubrics or definitions around quality indicators, and then it's for local implementation in terms of the flexibility that you have, not just as a school district, but at the school building level.
Do you foresee NYCPS creating a code deck for that or not?
A deck for financial literacy?
Will there be course codes that signal financial literacy and climate education?
Yes. You were going to say.
You already have to put it in the section properties and stars so that you're tagging that, at least for the financial literacy.
And for Future Ready, NYC, those subset of schools, about 180-something schools, they are having at least one full semester of financial literacy. So we have about a third of our high schools already going beyond what the state is asking for. And this conversation around financial literacy has been going on for a while, even at the state level. Our commissioner, Rosa, mentioned the importance of financial literacy, had a couple of op-ed pieces, and then we had the state controller saying the same thing, the city controller around the importance of financial literacy and financial empowerment. And so this is something that we see that is just good for students and families, right? And this is going to happen a lot where the state is going to provide us with just some guidelines, and then we have local flexibility, and we want that because we know our students and our kids best, and our teachers and our schools best.
We have some questions in the.
Yes.
Okay. So one question from Varun says, define CTE. Will CFM count? Will it have to be a CTE certified teacher? Any teacher teaching CFM will count?
Those are all great questions, which unfortunately we don't have the answers to, because as you see, this is the year where by the end of the school year that the state ed department is going to release the new credit requirement guidelines. And so we know that CTE, there's a lot of shortages for teachers, right, certified to teach that class. Why even now they're signaling to us that financial literacy can count as that CTE credit, work-based learning can count as that CTE credit, and so more to come. But my feeling, and this is just me, not the state or New York City Public Schools, but just me. My feeling is that there's going to be a lot of flexibility around how that is implemented because we do not have enough CTE certified teachers. We just don't.
Yeah, and then the last question I'll take, there's other questions, but maybe we'll share them with you separately. And we'll get back to the group. With the new requirements, will New York State Ed be updating the list of department-approved alternatives to Regents exams? The list still says SAT-2 exams, which don't exist.
Yeah, they're going to be updating the learning standards. They're going to be updating what kind of assessments can go in. But again, think of it as a menu of choices where we would be able to pick and choose depending on the capacity, like teacher capacity, depending on student interest, depending on student skills, right? So this is what the state has signaled to us is that it's a student-centered approach where we're really able to try to meet those interests as much as possible. And I say try because there's a lot of resources that are going to be needed for this. And that's one of our major concerns is around what type of resources will the state be providing. And I'm not really sure. They have earmarked about $4 million, I believe, this year, and then for about 11 million altogether, which doesn't sound like a lot for all of these big changes. I think that 11 million will probably be for the new rubric creation, the reformatting of the learning standards, and our concern is that some might not come down to the school districts, right? So, yes.
So for the financial literacy and climate education requirement, is that cohort 2026 or is that all students starting 2026?
Yeah, I haven't received much clarity around that. We know that there's an expectation that's proposed, right? Let's really emphasize that word, proposed. And so we have, we join all of the Board of Regents meetings. They're virtual, right, just to get the latest information. And we haven't received much clarity around, is it for cohort 2027? Is it for all students? Yes. Sometimes we have more questions than answers, but I think these are the right questions to ask.
One last one, just for clarity around the graduation requirements that we're moving away from, and, potentially as a parent. So I have my youngest daughter is entering high school 2027, 2028. My oldest one is going to be entering senior year that year. The language on this slide talks about sunsetting with assessment requirements. Can you go to the next slide? No. That one talks about sunsetting diploma requirements.
Yes.
And I understand it, you're correct. I know this is proposed in the timeline, but what they mean by this is for the cohort entering high school that year. Anybody that's older still has to meet
Yes.
they enter high school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but it's tricky because you can see that it says cohorts 2024. That's our 9th graders who started last year, our current 10th graders. And it's saying diploma assessment requirement decoupled. So that would mean...
That's the word.
Decoupled. Yes. So what they're saying is if this proposal goes through, our current 10th graders will still need to take these exams. But if they fail the regents, they can still graduate. Right?
So exactly. It's not
right, we still have to go through, our students still have to take the exam and still have to, for 2 important reasons, and still pass it and still meet the college readiness standards at CUNY and everywhere else. CUNY hasn't changed their definition yet, right, of what it means.
They have. It's
Meaning, but it's still a 75 in the regents, et cetera, right?
They have a more elaborate
algorithm that in theory they could use for.
It's not just the exam, but the exam still counts for it. And our accountability metrics, the region still counts for academic readiness. So we haven't changed those algorithms yet because, again, this is a proposal. So we're talking, like I said, with our CUNY partners, our Office of Policy and Evaluation is also thinking about, and we'll go to that next, different ways to really make college and career readiness metrics more holistic. But as of today, it's still, Regents scores are still a big part of it. And as of today, a requirement, yes.
We support schools.
If.
Clarify for principals, we should emphasize that.
Yes.
Up until now, until that becomes.
It's algebra.
Yes, it does.
But they don't have.
We should operate under the premise that the regions are still required to graduate.
That's right.
In high school right now.
Yeah, I don't know if somebody was counting, I don't know how many times I used the word proposed, and that was for a reason. I don't want folks to walk away saying, oh, wait, our students don't need this, or we need to prepare for that. It's still, all of these things are still required. All of the credits are still required. All of the regions are still required. And this is a proposal that will drastically change, especially because of the regions, those graduation requirements, for sure.
About like 25 minutes left.
Awesome.
And if we can cut down on the outside conversations, it picks up on the mics that are going into our Zoom. So it makes it hard to hear Dr.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're
Pérez-Sadler.
very well set up for hybrid, but anyone who's talking in the space, the people on Zoom are going to hear.
So if we go back one more, this is what I alluded to around measuring matters that our colleagues at the Office of Policy and Evaluation have been updating the school quality reports, how we measure school quality. It now includes a 0 to 100 scale. Last year it was informational, but this school year it went into effect. We're looking to add more career readiness and work readiness experiences that count so that it's not just college readiness, but truly holistic college and career. And then this will also have to be aligned to Portrait of a Graduate competencies now that it's law. Okay. So picturing one student, I mentioned that we're looking at the promise of all of these different changes. Meet my niece, Maya. Maya is a current 5th grader. She enters the 9th grade in September 2029, so that she graduates June 2033. Her transcript, when she graduates from high school, must document proficiency in Portrait of a Graduate competencies. And so her cohort depends entirely on this new proposed system that replaces, as we mentioned, these traditional measures like seat time and Regents exams. And what we do today really defines what options she'll have, right? Will the options look like status quo? Because we don't have the resources, we weren't able to collaborate, we weren't able to make some changes starting now. And so it still looks like seat time, right? It still looks like she's an effective communicator because she took 8 semesters of English. Or does it look like she had an internship at a newspaper and that counts as one of her English credits? So this is what we're working with now. The next slide really is for us to just pause and reflect. Not sure if we'll get to all of these questions, but we'd love to have us starting with thinking of a current student, and you can talk at your tables. And Sunny, I'm not sure if it's breakout rooms for the folks there.
You know when to go.
All right. So think of a current student who represents the promise of the shift. You can think of a student that you have now that would benefit from these changes. How is your school already doing some of this work and being able to capture? I know many of us do financial literacy or work-based learning, capstone projects. So it's really about gathering those artifacts and what challenges do you anticipate your school will face and why. So talk among yourself. Let me know, Emily, how much time do you think we might have?
Sandy, what do you want to do?
5 minutes?
5 minutes?
Right?
Okay.
Okay.
5 minutes means maybe one question, maybe the first one around picturing your student, but you can pick any other question that you might want to discuss for 5 minutes at your table. All right, everyone. I had a really good conversation around challenges and some of the challenge. And so I want to make sure that I highlight this. Some of you may already know this and may already be doing this. But if you're not, one of the questions was around future-ready programming, CTE programming. How do we, there's not enough time in the day, right? And then add to that an internship or add to that an apprenticeship, right? Some of our schools are also in the Career Ready and Modern Youth Apprentice program. So one of the things that I see some of our schools doing, but not enough, is making sure that we do that crosswalk between that syllabus, that course that the student takes at the college level, let's say CUNY College now, and map it to a New York State learning standard so that the student can get both high school and college credit. So dual credit, if we go to the academic policy guide, the high school academic policy guide, there's a section called awarding credit for college courses. And then there's a whole other guide that you click to that says college courses, and it tells you how to program it in STARS and how to do all of that. All that to say, if our students for Future Ready are taking 3 college classes, that's 3 less high school classes that they have to take if you are able to do that crosswalk, which most of the time you are. You might have to like go back to the professor and say, can you add, this or that so that it's aligned to the New York State learning standards. But if you have that crosswalk, you're able to, as a high school principal, then certified that it meets the New York State high school requirement for credit, and the student is able to get both a college transcript and a high school transcript. So I want to make sure I offer that to you all. All right, so there is a hand. Yes.
Just to clarify, does that then mean that the class has to take place at the high school site for it to be able to
No.
advance to enrollment?
The student can take a College Now class after school. A lot of our students take it on their own, like on a Saturday or even during the summer. Many times you may not know as a school that your students are doing that, but I would also encourage your students to let you know if they are taking a class, whether it's through College Now because it's free or some type of other summer programming that they learn about. And as long as they give you the syllabus and you're able to do that crosswalk, then you're saying you've met the learning standard through this course.
Follow-up?
Yes.
So does that then need to be accounted for when they start the class versus when they end the class? Like if we don't have the conversation, we're clueless that they're doing this?
You can do it after the fact. There's a whole section around transfer credits. So you would follow that. But that section, and I may, I'll send it over to Emily and to Sandy to ensure that they share that with you all. But it's in the academic policy handbook, the high school one, that section on awarding credit for college courses. And then it takes you to another standalone guide where it goes really like detailed, like screenshots on stars and how to code it and everything like that. Yeah, of course. Not sure if we'll have time. Tell me if I have time, Sandy. If not, we'll...
7 minutes.
Yay! Okay, this is the part that I really wanted to make sure we got to. So, a sticky note, your notebook, a note to self, however you want to do this. If you can individually just think about one step that you can commit to completing by the end of this month, so the next 2 weeks. To address your school's readiness. It could be awareness. It could be looking at some things you're already doing in terms of how do you document that. Anything, big or small, one actionable step. So if you take a couple of minutes, reflect on your own, and then you find a partner, and you share that commitment.
For folks in the room, you do have a section in your workbook for this portion, so feel free to take some notes there if you would like.